Many businesses treat every inactive opportunity as if it belonged to the same final category. The deal did not move. The decision did not happen. The opportunity stopped progressing. So the business marks it as closed lost and moves on. That can feel efficient. The case is no longer active. The pipeline becomes cleaner. The status looks resolved. But no decision is not the same as closed lost. That distinction matters because the reason an opportunity stopped moving changes what the business should believe about it next. A truly lost deal usually means something clear. The fit was weak. The timing was wrong. The prospect chose an alternative. The opportunity no longer deserves the same active confidence. But no decision is different. In a no decision outcome, the opportunity may not have been rejected. It may have paused. It may have stalled. It may have failed to reach enough urgency for action to happen now. That is not the same signal. Because a deal that was lost and a deal that never turned into a decision do not mean the same thing for future pipeline judgment. If the business treats them as identical, it loses precision. Pipeline history becomes weaker. Re-engagement logic becomes weaker. And the meaning of closed lost becomes broader than it should be. That is the real problem. A pipeline becomes more useful when its outcomes still reflect what actually happened. And what actually happened in a no-decision case is not always loss. Sometimes it is unresolved potential that never matured enough to become a real decision at all.
What makes this distinction important is that outcome labels shape future decisions. If everything that stops moving gets treated as lost, the pipeline may look cleaner, but the business learns less from what actually happened. That is expensive, because a true loss and a no-decision case do not create the same signal. A true loss often tells the business that the opportunity should carry much less future belief. The fit may not be real. The solution may not have matched. The buyer may have chosen another path. The case no longer deserves the same operational relevance. But a no-decision outcome often says something else. It may say that urgency never became strong enough, that internal alignment never formed, that the problem was real, but not active enough to force action now. Those are very different conditions. And if the business collapses them into the same closed lost bucket, it becomes harder to read the pipeline honestly. The system starts storing less meaning. Now, future review becomes softer. Future segmentation becomes weaker. Future re-engagement becomes less precise. Because the pipeline no longer knows whether the case was actually rejected or simply never matured into decision. That difference matters. A stronger system does not only close cases, it preserves the meaning of why they closed the way they did. That is what keeps the pipeline useful later, not just clean in the moment.
This is also why no-decision outcomes should not automatically disappear into the same mental category as true losses. A true loss usually reduces confidence clearly. The opportunity was tested and did not hold. A no-decision case often means something more ambiguous. The opportunity may still have had fit. The conversation may still have had quality. The case may still have carried some potential. What failed was not always the value of the opportunity. Sometimes what failed was the conversion into urgency. That is a very different lesson. Because if the business reads no decision as if it were full rejection, it starts learning the wrong thing. It may assume the market was weaker than it was. It may assume the fit was worse than it was. It may assume the case deserves no future relevance, when the real issue was that timing or internal momentum never became strong enough. That weakens judgment later. A stronger pipeline does not only separate open from closed, it separates different kinds of closed outcomes, well enough that the business still knows what each one should mean. That is what preserves intelligence inside the system. Not every inactive case should keep active confidence, but not every inactive case should be interpreted as if it failed for the same reason either. Once that difference becomes visible, the pipeline becomes much easier to read with more honesty and much more useful precision.
This distinction also changes what the business should do next. A true loss often means the opportunity should leave active consideration with much less future weight. But a no-decision case may still deserve structured memory, not active pursuit, not false confidence, but meaningful context. Because if the case ended without real rejection, the business should not behave later as if nothing had ever happened. That would be wasteful. The conversation already created information. The fit was already tested. The timing weakness was already observed. The friction was already visible. All of that matters. If no decision is collapsed into loss, the business loses the ability to use that context well later. Now, every future re-entry has to start with less intelligence than it should. That is another cost of treating these outcomes as identical. A stronger system does not just classify cases for reporting, it classifies them in a way that preserves future usefulness. That is what makes the distinction operational. No decision does not mean active opportunity now, but it also does not always mean the same kind of finality that a true loss deal should carry. And once the business learns to preserve that difference, the pipeline becomes cleaner without becoming less intelligent.
This is why outcome accuracy matters so much inside the pipeline. A healthy system does not only ask whether an opportunity is still active, it also asks what kind of ending actually happened. Was the case truly lost? Was the fit wrong? Was the solution rejected? Or did the opportunity simply fail to become urgent enough to produce a decision now? Those are not the same result, and they should not create the same future meaning. Because once no decision gets treated as closed lost by default, the business starts flattening reality. Different outcomes produce the same label. Different lessons produce the same memory. Different future possibilities get reduced to the same level of operational relevance. That weakens the system. A pipeline becomes more useful when it can preserve difference, not erase it. That does not mean keeping weak cases artificially alive. It means closing them honestly with enough precision that the business still knows what kind of case it was dealing with. That precision matters later, for review quality, for pipeline reading, for re-engagement logic, for understanding whether the issue was rejection, timing, or unresolved readiness. This is why no decision is not the same as closed lost. A stronger pipeline does not only close opportunity, it keeps the meaning of that closure accurate enough to support better decisions afterward.
A stronger pipeline becomes easier to trust when different outcomes keep different meanings. That is the real benefit. Because once the business can distinguish between true loss and no decision, it starts learning more accurately from what the pipeline is actually showing. A true loss may reduce future confidence sharply. A no-decision case may reduce present confidence, but still preserve useful context for later interpretation. Those are different effects, and if the system records them as if they were identical, future judgment becomes weaker. The business starts seeing fewer distinctions than reality contains. That always creates softer thinking. A healthier system protects clarity by protecting outcome quality. It does not leave everything open forever, but it also does not force different endings into one simplified category just because that feels cleaner. Clean is not the same as accurate, and accuracy matters more. Because the pipeline is not only a place where opportunities are stored, it is a place where business meaning is preserved. If that meaning becomes too flat, future decisions become less precise. That is why no decision is not the same as closed lost. The opportunity may no longer deserve active confidence now, but the reason it stopped still matters enough to deserve a more accurate conclusion. That is why a stronger pipeline does not only decide whether an opportunity is open or closed, it decides what kind of ending actually happened. Because once that meaning stays accurate, the system becomes easier to trust, easier to learn from, and much less likely to confuse delayed decisions with true rejection.